Hello YouTube, I'm MCGo101 and in today's video I'm going to show you a step-by-step on how to change the spark plugs in a Dodge Ram Sport. So I have a 2011 model and the spark plugs have not been done for about 4 years. I did them myself and it was quite the job, but I got my way through it. So I thought I'd share my knowledge and maybe this can help someone out someday. So first things first, we'll go through some of the tools that you'll need. First off, you're going to need 16 spark plugs. You're going to need a ratchet with an extension with a 5/8 spark plug socket. You'll need an 8mm. You can use a flathead screwdriver to get the clamps off of the intake, but I'm just going to use a ratchet. You'll need a 10mm to get the coils off the spark plugs themselves. And for the tricky ones at the back of the driver's side, you'll probably need a couple swivel adapters. At least 2, if I recall right. It was pretty tricky to get in there around the brake booster or the cruise control. So first things first, you'll need 16 spark plugs. For this model of Ram, I need an LZFR 5C11, and I did go with NGKs. And in the manual, you can confirm LZFR 5C11, and you'll notice the gap is at 43 thousandths of an inch. So first thing I did is I gapped all the plugs. Right out of the box, they were about 35 thousandths. So I went ahead and gapped them all to 43 thousandths. So if you're going to do it, might as well do it right. That's the way it's designed, so we're going to do it just the way it was designed to work. Alright. Other things that may help you, trouble light, and maybe even a little step stool, because reaching the back ones will be tricky. But yeah, so let's get started. We'll try and get set up here. So the first things you're going to need to do is remove the intake hose, and I'll show you how to do that. Try and get in position here. So this intake hose is going to get in the way, so we're going to fully remove that. First off, we'll remove this sensor, so pull that red clip back. That doesn't want to come off too easily, but what we'll do is we'll grab a pair of pliers. So just like so. Now we're going to take our 8mm ratchet with an extension, and there's a clamp holding that intake on. So we'll go ahead and we'll get that nice and loose. Again, you could use a flathead screwdriver, but this is just a better way in my opinion. Okay, so there's one. I'm also going to disconnect it here to get it right out of the way. Just like so. Now before I go too much further, what I want to do is protect that intake. So I'm just going to take a shop towel and rest it in there so we don't get any dirt and debris inside there when we're working. All right, so now we can go ahead and remove our Hemi hat. So it just pops up like so. And well, I found a treat. Something's been making a nest in here. So we'll go ahead and remove that. That's a big surprise. All right, now I'm just going to pause it for a minute and clear the leaves and debris out of the way. Okay, so that was a bit of a surprise. There was definitely a small nest in there from like a squirrel or a chipmunk or something. Didn't seem to do any damage. It was just kind of clustered in there under the Hemi hat. So what I did is just got rid of all the leaves. You want to make sure that around the coil packs is all clear. You don't want to pull a coil pack and then have debris get into the cylinders. So I just went ahead and blew that all out. So next thing I'm going to do, just to make the job easier, is we'll disconnect the hose from the airbox itself. Push that to the side, and then your airbox should lift right out, like so. Now this is going to give you really good access to all of the spark plugs on this side. So we'll zoom in a little bit here. Now, so first thing we want to do is crack those coils. So we'll take our small ratchet, put a 10 mil on it. And they're not on there very tight. They don't have to be. Once you crack them loose, you can pretty much do them by hand. So there's two. So now we're going to separate the coil from the plugs. So it should just pop off, just like so. Again, just being careful of any debris. You don't want anything in those cylinders. All right. So let's get our spark plug wrench. So crack them loose. They should come out by hand. Go ahead and crack the other one loose while we're at it. Okay. And here's our old plugs. There's one. Now my socket wrench, I've taken out the rubber so the actual ratchet doesn't pull the spark plug out. But I just got a little magnet that'll pull them out for me. You could also use the coil the boot on the coil. That works just fine for me. And just a quick inspection. They don't look that bad, but preventative maintenance. Let's get them changed up. So first two plugs are out. Let's get the first new one in. Going to thread that in by hand to start. And we'll do number 2. Now they do have long threads on them, so you got to be patient. Alright, so once it starts getting tight, we'll put our ratchet back on. Now once it's snug, I'd probably give it about a quarter turn. And that's all they need. So once it's snug, quarter turn. Alright. Awesome, guys. So that's 2 of 16. We'll go ahead and reinstall the coil. And with the two 10mm bolts, thread them in by hand. It's probably a little quicker. And just basically finger tight on the 10mm bolts. So that is 2 of 16. So let's carry on. Let's take off the next 10mm bolts. Lots of stuff in the way. I got air conditioning lines in the way. So you just got to be patient and work around all this stuff. So we'll remove the coil. being very careful not to get any dirt or debris in there. Alright, let's go ahead and remove our next two. Get that coil out of the way. So AC line is in the way. I'm going to use a second extension. And now that that's loose, I'll move over to the other one. Okay, now we've got those loose. Let's get them pulled out. There's one. And there's two. It's always good to inspect them. Alright, so let's continue on. Just going to thread it in by hand. Till it's good and snug. Install the second. Okay, let's get a ratchet on there. And once it's snug, just a quarter turn. Beautiful. Same thing to the other side. Get it snug. Quarter turn. Awesome. So So we'll go ahead and reinstall our coil. You could just barely feel it pop onto the end of the spark plugs. That's what you want. And we'll thread our 10 mils in by hand. And we will snug them up. Awesome, guys. That's 416 already. So we'll move on to our next one. Now it's going to start getting a little trickier back near the firewall. That's okay, just be patient. So this is where I'm going to use my step ladder, so I have a better angle on things. And just to speed up the process, use two hands to remove those two 10 mil bolts. And we'll go ahead and pull our coil off. Okay, so we're ready for the next set. There's one. Okay. Beautiful. So, here goes spark plug 5 and 6. So same thing as before. Just going to gently drop it in. So what I did just to tighten it up is I put a second swivel on, just so I have better access. Okay. Now, the last one on this bank. It is probably, yeah, it is the hardest to get out on this side for sure. Just like so. Now let's get that second one out. See what kind of room we got to work with. And we'll take our little magnet and we'll pull that plug right out. And we'll go ahead and reinstall. So we'll start by doing finger tight. All right, so I ran into a little issue. I'm trying to use a 3/8 or sorry, a 1/2 inch ratchet was not working for me. So what I ended up doing is just took my small little 1/4 inch with the stubby and I put that onto a swivel adapter. Now, so I have the 1/4 inch adapter, and that's given me a lot more room to work with. So for example, if I just put the socket in, so I've already dropped the spark plug in there, we'll crank it tight by hand. And we'll tighten them up with a small 10 mil. All right. So that is 12 spark plugs changed out. Now for the last 4. Last but not least. And these are by far the most difficult to get at. So we'll try and get set up and we'll show you how it's done. Okay, so the last 2 coils are, as you all know, pretty tricky to get at. I've been resorting to laying across the top of the engine just to get access. Now, like I say, the last couple have been fairly easy, and I've just used a small ratchet with an adapter to go up a size with a swivel and the 5/8 socket. So that has done really well for me. So we're going to go ahead and lay across the engine again, and we'll get these last 2, well, get these next 2 plugs in. I'm trying to tighten them by hand as much as I can. Okay, can you hit? All right, so now that we got all 16 plugs changed, we're just going to go ahead and reassemble this. So pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Reverse of what we did.